Well, as president of the Philippine National E-Learning Association, we actually have about 60 schools as our member. Of course, the AMA University is one of the foremost or the pioneer in e-learning in the country, and we have a total of 30,000 students being enrolled in e-learning classes.
The next question.
Good morning. I'm Emily Hagad of DTI, Bureau of Product Standards, and a PhD student here at IAME. How can we make the most out of e-learning?
Professor Randong.
Well, I guess in response to that question is accept it as a fact. It is here. E-learning has been with us for so many years. One is accept the technology and learn from the technology.
Are you saying that there's still a little resistance to that kind of technology? Because I know that kids nowadays are very familiar and comfortable with internet technology.
Yes, I believe kids have already accepted.
But not the adults.
But probably not everybody may have an appreciation of a non-face-to-face mode of teaching.
Okay, we have considered the barriers to e-learning. What public policy recommendations can we propose, Dr. Asanza?
I could readily think of the CHED's role. One, we should remove that barrier of limiting delivery of e-learning instruction only to schools which are at level 3 accreditation. Second, we should allow the use of e-library or electronic learning resources as compliance to the CHED regulations. For example, right now, when they visit our schools, they would demand for 5,000 physical books, when in fact, in one CD, you actually have more than 1 million of learning materials in it. You see now, it used to be that you have 40 volumes of encyclopedia. It's contained in one CD. You have the Library of the Future that has more than 1 million content, journals, etc. But CHED has not opened their eyes yet, has not accepted the fact that this is already what is happening, and this is already a reality that they must accept, and therefore schools must be considered to be compliant based on their standards using these facilities, using these e-library, e-learning facilities.
Professor Randong, should CHED repeal its CHED memorandum putting the barrier of level 3 accreditation in order to pave the way for the growth of e-learning?
I would like to respond to that question from a framework of evolution. Things have changed. The internet is here.
Are you talking about Darwinian evolution? Survival of the fittest?
Survival of the fittest. What I'm saying here is, coming from an academic perspective, we know what is happening. And therefore, we should be able to tell the regulatory bodies what is good also for the academic industry. And that means a yes to your
Dr. Asanza, should we propose a new legislation? Since we have champions in the Senate, in the person of Senator Mar Rojas, Senator Kiko Pangilinan, and in the House, Congresswoman Cynthia Villar.
Yes, actually, Congresswoman Villar and Senator Mar Rojas, and of course Senator Pangilinan, I've discussed these matters with them, and they're very, very supportive as to how we can address these issues. I think now government and even Congress will have to realize that the educational system will have to face a different type of system, and therefore there has to be some revisions, some recommendations that have to be addressed. And I think that policy of CHED will really have to go. They will have to demolish or remove that barrier so that we can move on.
Are there any government subsidies, do you think, that can be given to e-learning entrepreneurs who want to set up e-learning centers?
Well, probably we can check or coordinate with the Commission on Information and Communications Technology as the lead agency. Or perhaps we can talk to a foreign donor so that they can provide the necessary funding or, in terms of financial support or grant. in terms of equipment.
Because how much would it actually take on the minimum to put up an e-learning center?
Well, it's quite expensive because, for example, for the e-learning platform itself, it costed AMA University around 40 million just to invest on the platform where we load our modules and content. And there are other facilities that you have to invest on, such as the studio, the cameras, and the internet facility. And therefore, this is not as easy. CHED will have to come in and see that institutions that really offer e-learning are serious about this because it is expensive. There has to be some retraining of the faculty members, and therefore, only institutions that are serious in investing and putting time, academic reforms, will go into e-learning.
Professor Andong, how can we ensure quality education through e-learning?
Well, aside from setting up probably a formal association to monitor, schools also should start to review their policies and their guidelines on e-learning, and there has to be a concerted effort between the academic institution and government regulatory bodies. Third would be international recognition.
Dr. Azanza, would you recommend as a public policy the creation of a separate accrediting body which are actually composed of schools, colleges, and universities specifically tailored to e-learning?
Yes, that is precisely why we formed the Philippine National E-Learning Association, because it seems that the traditional organization does not seem to address the requirements of the e-learning environment, or the e-learning, or has not yet accepted the standards for e-learning education. So this private or separate entity may very well address that. And also, industry will have to come in. For example, with AMA, we partnered with Intel, Microsoft, and some other industries that will have to verify and also tell us whether what we are doing in the e-learning mode is really consistent with the requirements or standards of the industry.
Well, Nolly, unfortunately, we've run out of time. We want to discuss this further, but we'd like to thank our guests, Dr. Azanza and Professor Andong, for giving us their insights on the barriers and the policies that they've recommended in order to overcome these barriers.
Despite its potentials, especially to narrow the gap between the rich and the poor, e-learning still faces many barriers which we believe can be overcome.
Eventually, e-learning means the evolution of education and the survival, not only of the fittest, but also of those who ride on the crest of the information superhighway. I'm Tony Velasquez.
And I'm Noli Santos. So the public may know, this is Public Policy Focus.